Love that high-end Pottery Barn style but not the price tag? You're in the right place. Welcome back to DIYs with Sonja. Welcome if you're new. Today I'm sharing a compilation of all-time favorite DIY Pottery Barn dupes, each one budget-friendly, beautiful, and packed with style. From elegant vases to timeless decor pieces, you'll be amazed at what you can create for a fraction of the cost. Whether you're a DIY beginner or a seasoned pro, these ideas will help you get that designer look for less, all from the comfort of home. So hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you love saving money while making your space feel high-end. Let's jump into these easy and stunning Pottery Barn-inspired DIYs. The first DIY is inspired by the Pottery Barn textured earthenware vase, which retails for a whopping $99, but we're making our own for just a few dollars. I'm starting with a thrifted vase that has a great shape, but definitely needs a makeover. To achieve that high-end textured look, I am applying drywall compound all over the vase using a putty knife. This is a trick I use often because it creates a beautiful organic texture that mimics expensive earthenware. If you don't have drywall compound, you can also use baking soda mixed with paint for a similar effect, or even plaster of Paris mixed into a fairly thick texture. While I'm applying the drywall compound, I wanted to mention that this video is extra special because I'm collaborating with my best friend Sandra from DIYs at the Schwoman's Nest. Sandra and I have been friends for over 24 years and used to even live on the same street. We have been DIYing together for years and I love her creativity. She's also sharing some amazing DIYs today, so be sure to check out her video after this one. I will have her channel and video linked down in the description box. And if it's your first time stopping by from her channel, hello and welcome. And if you're visiting her channel for the first time from my channel, make sure to say hello to her and let her know Sonja sent you. Moving on to the vase, once the drywall compound was applied, I did not wait for it to dry before creating the lines. I used a comb to make the lines evenly distributed, referencing my inspiration piece as a guide. This process was very therapeutic and I really enjoyed it. Once it dried for about 24 hours, I sanded down any rough peaks using sandpaper from Dollar Tree. The final result turned out stunning, and I think it's a very close match to the Pottery Barn inspiration piece for just a fraction of the price. You can customize this however you like. You can leave it as is, like I am doing, or paint it with a creamy white, a deep terracotta, or even a soft gray to match your decor. The end result is a high-end looking vase that you would never guess was a thrift store find. Moving on to my next DIY, we're going to transform this flower pot or planter that I picked up at Dollarama for just $1.75. I was immediately drawn to the little braided design because I knew it would be perfect for mimicking the look of wicker or rattan, which is incredibly popular right now. As you can see, similar pieces can be quite pricey online. To achieve that high-end look, I use dark antiquing wax. I'm using any Sloan, but any brand will work. I simply applied it with a brush, making sure to work into all the grooves to enhance the texture. This was such a simple and easy DIY, but the result is absolutely beautiful. It's the perfect way to add warmth and texture to your space, and I think it truly gives that rattan or wicker effect. What do you guys think? Wicker rattan and woven decor pieces are some of my favorite things to look for at thrift stores because they're so much more affordable than buying new. Most high-end stores charge a fortune for these, but thrift stores usually have a great selection. If you don't love the original color, don't worry, you can easily update it with gel stain, watered down paint, chalk paint, or even wax. For my piece, I'm using a combination of dark wax and white wax to deepen the tone while still letting the natural woven texture shine through. So the next piece that I'm working on is this thrifted tray, which I got for just $2.99. It was the perfect shape and I loved the design, but the color was a little too yellow for my taste. I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but I wanted to give it a slightly different look. I recently picked up this rattan style bunny from HomeSense and I love the warm natural tone of it. This was the color I wanted to replicate on the tray. To achieve that look, I mixed white wax with dark antiquing wax and applied it to the tray. I think it really helped to tone down the yellow, and the final result was pretty close to the color of the bunny. Like I said, trays like these can be so expensive in stores, so I always keep an eye out for them at thrift stores. This one was actually picked up for me by Sandra. She was out thrifting, sending me pictures, and I grabbed it for me. Sometimes having a personal shopper really comes in handy, and I'm so grateful for Sandra. One thing to note about using wax, it does take some time to cure. Right after applying it, the tray felt a little sticky, and the more I handled it, the more wax rubbed off. But after about 24 hours, it was completely fine. I used the rag to wipe off some of the excess wax and then reapplied a little bit more in certain areas to get that perfect finish. This is such a great way to incorporate warmth and natural elements into your decor, and the best part is that not two pieces are ever the same. This last DIY is a dupe of the extra large fall olive stem from Crate & Barrel, which retails for $89. I love the look of these oversized olive stems, but I definitely don't love the price. To make my own, I wanted to include it here because we are going to recreate it just for $10. I picked up olive branches from Temu for $10 for 5 stems. Each branch had multiple smaller branches, so I split them in half. Using real branch from my yard, I had glued the olive stems onto them, following the natural curvature to make it look realistic. And don't worry, cutting off a branch from a bush or a tree in your yard does not kill that plant. Any longer branches were trimmed down. This is such a great statement piece in a vase, and I love how high-end it looks for a fraction of the price. If you missed my Eucalyptus tree DIY, which was a Crate & Barrel dupe, I will link it into the corner for you to check out. For under $10, I now have a beautiful statement piece that looks just as good as the high-end version. This is such an easy way to elevate your floral arrangements and add a timeless touch to your decor. And that's it for today's DIYs. I love how each of these projects turned out, and I hope they gave you some inspiration to create your own. For my first DIY, I braved the snowy weather to head outside and find the perfect large branch to create a fall silver dollar eucalyptus tree. This is a crate and barrel dupe, and I wanted it to be around 8 feet tall. And luckily, I found a suitable one near my neighbor's house, who also happens to be my mother-in-law. So I had permission to cut it down. Using a small handheld chainsaw, I cut the branch and brought it inside. To create the base, I picked up a flower pot from Dollarama for $4 and a bag of concrete from Home Depot. The concrete I chose had a pebbly texture, which worked well for this project. If you need a smoother finish for a different DIY, you might want to choose a finer mix. And here is what the branch looks like that I decided for this project. I mixed equal parts of water and concrete, stirring it until fully combined. This took a bit of effort, but it wasn't difficult, just a bit of a workout. Once the concrete was ready, I placed my tree branch into the pot. You can mix the concrete separately and then pour it into the pot, but I found it easier to mix everything directly in the planter. For stability, I had my husband hold the branch upright while I secured it with wooden supports and heavy objects on top to prevent it from tipping. It took about an hour for the concrete to set. Once set, I headed back to Dollarama and I picked up silver dollar eucalyptus branches for $3 each. Initially, I bought 11, but after reassessing, I went back and purchased 7 more. I trimmed each eucalyptus branch into smaller pieces and hot glued them onto my tree branch. Another option would be drilling small holes into the branch and inserting the stems, but I found hot glue to be a quicker and easier method. The original inspiration tree was priced at $600 from Crate and Barrel. My version came in just under $60, a huge savings. Once the leaves were attached, I made a few final trims for a more balanced look. Also felt that the middle needed a bit more filling up with branches. And here it is, all filled up and trimmed up, and I love how it looks. I placed my tree in a wicker basket I already had, similar to the inspiration piece. To the basket, I am also going to add some burlap. You can add some rocks and deer moss or any type of filler that you think would look good. I love how it turned out. It makes such a statement in my front entryway for a fraction of the price. The first project that I'm going to be creating, I have a tremendous savings here for you. I did pick up this vase for $5, but this is not the item that I'm going to be duping. Over on Pottery Barn, I had found this vase, this look, actually the vase with hydrangea bundle, and the hydrangea bundles here is $70, but I really love this whole look, and that's what I'm going to be recreating. So as you can see, my vase was a little bit taller and a little bit thinner, but I think I can achieve that same look. Now for the hydrangea flowers, I did get mine out of the garden, and if you let your hydrangeas dry in a vase, they will get that dusty green look to them a little bit, and they do last for quite a while just sitting in a vase with no water or anything like that. But I did look over on Amazon, as well as I've seen a couple of the one Temu had a few for a lot less than just than $70. I think the most expensive one was on Amazon Canada for about a 40, but you get a much larger bundle. So look around your garden. You might find the fall foliage that you like, and it looks really nice in your vase. So to get this vase painted, I am going to be, so as you saw, I mixed white and creamy color paint. This is chalk paint, so it's a lot thicker. I was going to add flour to it to make it even more thicker, but my cream colored old ochre chalk paint was pretty dry, so it was actually quite thick, as you can see. The reason why I mixed the two colors is because the old ochre was too yellowish, and the white was too bright. So I just wanted to kind of tone down the brightness of the white. So that's why I mixed them. And I am applying a fairly thick layer because I want that thickness to show in the vase. So I forgot to mention that I will leave the links to the Amazon hydrangeas that I found in the description box, in case if you wanted to venture out and get some for yourself. Also Dollarama, if you're located in Canada, I've seen hydrangea flowers there as well. I've never seen them at Dollar Tree, but definitely at Dollarama. At Michael's store, I did not see that color, although I do know that my mother-in-law had gotten herself some hydrangeas like that a while back, so it's worth looking into it. I was just checking on the website. I think making over vases is one of the most affordable ways to add those look for less high-end dupes to your decor, because they tend to be a lot cheaper at thrift stores, and usually you can find the style of them like the high-end stores have them, and with a little bit of paint you can achieve that high-end look. So right now I am just trying to blend, so there's none of the brush strokes are showing, and I'm just using a crafter sponge to do that. Since I like to show you everything, I will show you this step as well, but I do find that this did not really add much to the vase. I wanted to just darken the certain spots just a little bit, but I didn't want to go too much with this brown because I feel like it has a bit of a purplish tinge to it. So I went really lightly just to dab on, but you can completely skip this step if you wanted to and just move on to the next step. And the next step is optional as well. If you want, you can just leave it at this point, or you can go and get some dirt and get dirty. My camera ran out of space, my card, so I had to resort to my phone. So here we are. So all I take is before the vase completely dries, I just add some dirt to it, sprinkle it. You want this to be, for this particular project, you want the dirt to be dry. I've done projects where the dirt is wet and then it just kind of paints everything, but then you can't sprinkle it on and the vase has to be dry. So I let this dry completely, and then once it's dried completely, I take a brush and I just brush the dirt off and kind of try and blend it in a little bit. And that's it. And now I went out to my garden and clipped some hydrangeas, added them to my vase, and here it is on my shelf. I think it turned out so nice, and I think it's a pretty close dupe for the one at Pottery Barn, and for a lot less. On is this pot, and I got this last year during the thrift store's garden center in spring when they opened it, and they had this, and my intentions were to put some lavender in it. However, never got around to doing it last summer, and it's been sitting on my shelf, and I absolutely love the little detail that it has on top and on the bottom, and I really wanted to kind of bring that out a little bit more than what it was showing here. Originally, I was going to do something different with it. Then I was going to leave it as is because it wasn't a bad color, but it was just when I tried using it in my decor, I couldn't make it work with anything that was in my house. So off on a shelf we went until I figured out what I was going to make with it. This shape is not necessarily like any shape that I saw on the website, but it is the finish is very similar to some of the flower pots or pots, urns that he had in his store, so I went with that. Now, right now on the website, you can't actually see any of the products because I guess they open it up at shopping at certain times. So I just searched up shopping videos on YouTube and or Instagram. Anybody that had tagged the product, I would search it up. So that's how I came across some of the items that had given me the inspiration. So as you can see, I am painting this again with that same beige paint. I did use the paint that I painted the first DIY with, and I just added, so there was some flour in it, and I added a little bit more paint, so it wasn't as thick as the bowl, but it was still had a little bit of texture to it. And it's just nice when I go in with the next paint, it will pick up some of that texture and kind of bring it out more, and that is what I wanted here. Now again, I will let this piece partially dry before I move on to adding more paint to it. Now again, with the next paint, it will be pretty much the same combination of paint as the other one, but I am using paper towel instead of the sponge, and you will see how different that will make it because it's just different blending technique, and I'm focusing more on certain color versus the other color, whereas over there I went more with black and a little less brown, whereas here I'm going to go more with the ice cappuccino, then the black, and then also adding the white. did use the brush, as you saw, to get into all the little crevices, and I'm also adding a little bit of black in just some spots where maybe the paint didn't completely cover everything, and it just adds a little bit of dimension, I guess, to it. And I love the way this turned out. I love all the paint combinations on there. Like I said, again, blend, 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 and paper towel is a great tool to use for that. And let me show you how I styled it. I got this tree on Amazon, and it came with a really kind of a cheap pot, and I just elevated the look with a little bit of moss and this new pot. First project, I'm going to be actually recreating a look, and I'm going to be using this picture that my friend gave me, but she thrifted it for $6. And the look that I'm going to be recreating is from a Pottery Barn. I love the color of this vase, as well as those aspen tree branches. Now, as you can see, the tree branches are on sale for $45, but the vase is $212. So a little out of my price range. Well, not just a little out of my price range, a lot out of my price range, but I figured I could probably achieve the look with a little bit of creativity. So I'm going to start off by painting this picture. I originally was going to use acrylic paint, but the shiny surface, I would have had to apply maybe a Mod Podge or something first, or so I've decided, after I saw that it wasn't really working, I've decided to just go ahead and paint it with some chalk paint. And I also added a little bit of flour to the chalk paint to thicken it even more, to give it that almost like stone look project. So I'm going to give this one coat first. I'm going to let this coat completely dry. As you can see, it is covering it, but it's still some of the stuff is showing through, so you'll definitely need one more coat after this one. So it's all painted, just adding finishing touches, and I did add a little bit of paint on the inside, especially the part that's going to be showing. So I'm going to let this dry. So it had time to dry, and now I'm going to add another coat of this chalk paint, and then I'm going to do another technique on it while it's still wet. I absolutely love doing any type of vase or pitcher, even like bottles, and make them over. I love doing makeovers, because I think these items can be so expensive, and sometimes you can get similar look, sometimes even the same look, for fraction of the price. You can find lots of different types of vases at thrift stores. Even dollar stores carry interesting styles of vases. I had a lot of success this year at garage sales, and it's just such an easy way to add a high-end look to your decor. And with a little bit of paint, maybe a little bit of flour, a little bit of dirt, and you can create beautiful, beautiful pieces. So once it's painted, I'm going to add some to the same tray where I had my chalk paint, some chocolate brown acrylic paint, as well as some black acrylic paint. And then I'm going to use my crafting sponge that's wet, and I'm going to just mix the paint, kind of dab it on all the paints that are in there, and go over the whole vase with this sponge, almost like blending all the colors on it. I did a similar project a couple weeks ago on a smaller vase, but it's just amazing to see how similar techniques give you such different results and looks. So I'm going to just randomly cover the vase with this paint. In some spots I went heavy with the one paint and lighter with the other. The others time I went the opposite, and sometimes I just went very light with both colors together. And it's important to blend it really well together so that way it looks like it's meant to be there. And then while the paint was still wet, after I was done sponging stuff on and blending it, I added some flour to it and just pretty much sprinkled flour all over the vase. It's okay if some areas you put more and some areas you put less, because you're gonna be dusting the flour off once the piece is completely dry. I feel like the flour blends the color even more together, kind of ties everything in, and it gives it that stone aged look. So once it was completely dry, I just took a stippling brush, a brand new one, and just brushed most of the flour off. There was some stuff that stayed, and then I just took a rag and tried to rub a little bit off. You don't want to completely take it off, but you don't want big clumps because it will be falling off on your furniture while you're using it for decorating. And here is what the vase looks like, or the picture looks like, or completed with the branches in it. And here is to remind you what I was trying to recreate. So this would have cost me over $300 if I was to buy it as is on this picture, but mine came in under $10 with all the supplies that I used. For my next project, I'm going to be making over these two vases. These actually belong to my mother-in-law, who has thrifted with the intention of getting me to make them over. I had finally gotten her to pick out what she wants to get done with them. So I'm going to give them a base coat just to have an even starting point. And I'm doing this the fastest way, which is spray painting it with this satin black spray paint. And here they are spray painted, that way I don't have any of those lines showing through. Then once inside and when completely dry, I mixed up some of that black acrylic paint with some flour just to get a lot thicker texture, because we are going to be trying to recreate this look from Pottery Barn. It is this Cortland vase from Cortland Vase collection. As you can see, it has a little pattern on it, and she really liked that pattern on this vase. So I'm going to try and create that with some luck. And she couldn't remember exactly how much she had paid for her vases. She believes it was $15 for both, and as you can see, regular price these are range from $112 to $141, but on sale is $78 to $99. So quite a bit of savings for her, $15, and then a little bit of paint that I have used. So like I said, I'm going to mix the black paint with the flour, so that way I can create that design that she is looking for. So one of the reasons why I have decided to spray paint that as well was because once I'm going to be creating the design, which I will be doing it with a pencil. You can do it with a chopstick, or one of those skewer sticks, or any thin object that can give you nice thin lines. I just had a pen on hand, so I am using that. But that way, when you are doing the lines underneath, it's not showing the original color. It is going to be that black base color that I spray painted on. I was working in sections because I was worried that if I paint the whole thing all at once and go with a pen, that the first section would dry out on me. So here are the lines. I think that is looking pretty good. So I'm going to continue the same process for the rest of the vase, working in sections. So I am just finishing this here, and I will be doing the other one as well, the taller one, but I'm not going to bore you with the same process because it's exactly the same, but this way you can see how I did it for both of them. I think they turned out beautiful. Here they are all dried. She absolutely loved them. She loved the fact that they had so much character versus just a simple paint job. I paired them with some Timu branches, and I think they are going to be great on her fireplace for her fall decor, since I had inspired her to decorate her home. The last DIY is all about transforming outdated candle holders. These used to be silver, but I wasn't loving the finish anymore either. Instead of getting rid of them, I decided to give them a realistic wood look. I used chalk paint, a stippling brush, and any Sloan dark antiquing wax. I applied 1 coat of chalk paint and used the stipple brush to create natural looking wood grain texture. Once it was fully dry, I deepened the look with dark wax, making sure to get in all the grooves for the authentic aged wood effect. If you want even a richer look, layer dark, and even you can add white wax together, but I personally love how just the dark wax turned out. If the project you're working on and it has already wood grains, you could easily go in with a just a rag and spread the wax into it on it, because it will just pick up the wood grain. I have shared just recently, it was an older video, but I shared it just this video before on how to achieve that wood look on a piece of furniture. It's a great way to darken or change the color without actually using a wood stain. And if you have any empty spots where maybe the paint didn't take or you didn't apply as much paint, you can dab on the wax and just keep dabbing it until it almost blends in a little bit, and it'll give it that aged dark wood look as if it had different wood tones in it. These candle holders are now sitting on my dresser with some candles, and they look so high-end for a fraction of the price of a designer variation. And that's it. 3 stunning high-end DIY decor transformation that cost almost nothing, but made a huge impact in my home. I'm starting with a planter transformation. I picked up a pre-mixed can of beige brown paint at a discount because it was a mist tint, such a great way to find high quality paint for cheap. I also found a planter with an attached saucer at the thrift store, which became the perfect base for this DIY. Inspired by Pottery Barn's small decorative pots, I wanted to add texture and character to make it look like an aged clay or a stone planter. To achieve this, I mixed plaster of Paris into my paint and applied 2 coats for depth and texture. I love how the brushstrokes soften the look while adding dimension. I plan to use this for fresh basil since I cook with it multiple times a week. Since I also painted inside, I'll keep the plant in its original container for food safety. If you try this, you can also use terracotta pots and paint them along with their saucers. This DIY proves you don't have to spend a lot to get the high-end look you love. And here it is. I just added a faux plant to it because I did forget to pick up the basil when I went to the grocery store. So you'll just have to check it out on my home channel. I transformed a thrifted wooden shelf that my friend found for me for $7.99. It was the perfect size, but I wanted it to match my kitchen island. I ended up sanding off some of the finish, just a clear coat. I wasn't aiming for perfection since I was going to be painting it anyway. I just wanted to rough it up a little bit. I used a hand sander with 220 grit sandpaper that had been used several times, so it wasn't too aggressive, but it still did the job I needed. There are many places where you can find small shelves at different price points. I even found one similar to mine but larger on Etsy for a lot more than what I paid. If you're looking for a piece, just be patient. The right one is out there and you just need to find it. Once everything was sanded down, I brought it inside and used a sandpaper that I picked up at Dollar Tree uh, to get in all the little nooks and crannies that the sander couldn't reach, especially underneath the small hanging parts. This step took a little longer since it was difficult to get in all the tight spaces by hand. Once I was done, I wiped everything down with a damp paper towel. Once prepped, I mixed up my beige brown paint. To prevent yellowing, I followed a trick I've seen in other DIY videos, adding a tiny bit of blue paint to balance out warm tones. I applied the paint with a sponge brush, wiping off excess with a lint-free rag to create a soft, natural finish. I worked by sections so that way the paint did not dry on me. If it happens that you are working on a larger section, just make sure you have a bottle of spray bottle with some water in it so you can keep your paint dry, wet. Once I completed that and the shelf dried, which didn't take long at all, I took some of my Annie Sloan antiquing wax in dark and applied it with a brush. The brush I used was similar to stippling brush, and I worked in very small amounts at a time, brushing it out as I went. This darkened the paint slightly and really brought out all the grooves and wood grain which I love. After applying the wax with the brush, I buffed it out slightly with the rag. You don't need to fully buff the antiquing wax, you can simply wipe off the excess. In my case, I wouldn't say I buffed it out completely, but I did make sure to wipe it well after applying it with the brush to even everything out. Initially, it looked slightly greenish, but as it dried, it settled into a warm, rich tone that matched my island perfectly. Here is how the shelf looks now, and you can see some of the pieces I already added to it. I think it turned out absolutely beautiful and matches my island perfectly, just the way I envisioned it. It's a great addition to this little space which had been sitting empty and was really bothering me. Now, not only does it add a decorative touch, but it also brings in some functionality. This corner gets a lot of beautiful morning sunlight, so I thought it would be the perfect spot for a little herb garden. The wicker tray that I picked up thrifting just this past weekend for only $3. Honestly, it was one of those finds where you know it has potential even though the color isn't quite right. I love the design and style, but I just couldn't see it fitting into my home without a little update. As I was brainstorming ideas, I came across a similar tray online at Maggie & Co. priced at $39. I loved the color they used but knew it would be a challenge to recreate. While searching for more inspiration, I found some baskets on the same website with the shade that I absolutely loved, so I went for that instead. To achieve the look, I used creamy acrylic paint mixed with a touch of brown and a bit of water. I applied it using a wet paper towel, which allowed me to create soft blended strokes. For the details and crevices, I used a sponge brush to make sure everything was covered evenly. I repeated the same process on the back and I just love how it turned out. Right now, it's styled in my living room and it adds such a cozy natural touch to the space. For $3, you really can't go wrong. Next up, I worked on a vase I found for $5 at the thrift store. I love when I can take something outdated and give it a completely fresh look. This vase had a lovely shape and some subtle texture, but it needed a makeover to fit my style. I was inspired by Ophelia Martin Natural Vase, which retails for $150 at Crate and Barrel. Can you believe that? While it's beautiful, I was confident I could recreate a similar look for a fraction of the cost. Started with a base coat of Anislone chalk paint in the color Country Gray, a warm beige tone that pairs perfectly with neutral decor. After the first coat dried, I went in with a thicker second coat, dabbing the paint to create texture. If your paint isn't thick enough, you can always add cornstarch to give it more body. Once that layer dried, I blended brown and beige paints using a damp sponge, softly adding color to random spots for a natural age effect. Love how this piece came out. It's now sitting on my tray and it gives such a high-end feel, exactly what I was going for. Plus, I saved so much money. If you'd like to see how I'm decorating my home after Christmas and using some of these DIYs, head on over to my home channel where I'm currently sharing how I transition my decor from Christmas to winter. I hope it gives you some inspiration for your own home. The link to my home channel is in the description box, or just search up At Home with Sonja. For the last DIY, I've been so excited to recreate this for a while now. I've been searching for vintage salt and pepper mills, but I couldn't find any in secondhand stores, thrift shops, or even antique stores. Online, they're quite pricey. On Amazon, they're over $200. So when I came across two of these at thrift store for just $5.99 for both, I knew I had to give them a makeover to achieve the vintage-inspired look I wanted. I took inspiration from a tray I recently purchased, which had this beautiful aged gold finish, and I decided to recreate that look on the mills. I started by spray painting them fully in metallic gold for a base. After that dried, I began layering on different shades of gold, soft gold, yellow gold, and a touch of black, using a craft sponge and a brush. However, I quickly realized that the surface was too slippery and the paint wasn't blending the way I wanted it. I switched to using a paper towel and it worked perfectly. The texture of the paper towel allowed me to dab and blend the colors seamlessly, creating a more natural vintage look. To ensure the finish wouldn't rub off, you can seal everything with the matte Mod Podge layer. This will also give the surface better grip for blending the paint. The Final result, these salt and pepper mills turned out beautiful and match my kitchen decor exactly how I envisioned it. Thank you so much for joining me for these high-end DIY dupes. I hope you have found some inspiration to recreate designer looks on a budget. Let me know in the comments which project was your favorite, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you are new here. Turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Until next time, have a wonderful day and thank you so much for watching.